Hey friends, it's Missy again. Thanks so much for stopping in today. I'm back with a new layout for Hip Kit Club, and I'm using the 2020 September kits again. And I'm going to start with a dark background. This is that dark, deep charcoal gray cardstock from the cardstock kit, and I want to incorporate the stamp that we got in the stamp kit. That is the abstract cube stamp from Pinkfresh Studio. I also want to use the Lindy's Gang magical powders that we get in the color kit. I recently saw a layout that Emily did, who is also on our design team, and she made a layout with this gray cardstock as the background, and I love it so much, and it completely inspired me to use it as a background. So I'm going to just kind of see where this goes. I'm going to coat the whole thing with clear gesso first because I wanted to just start to distress it. And so this is going to dry clear, but it's going to go ahead and prep the cardstock for what I'm going to do to it. And because some of this is going to be left gray, and then I'm going to come back over it in just a second with some white gesso to distress the top half of it. This whole part of this layout right here is just kind of a let's see what's going to happen if I do this, and let's see what would happen if I did this. And the end result is what happens because of that. So this is going to look like a hot mess. It just looks like yeah. Just go with it and wait till the end and see if you like the end result. I think this background turns out really cool. This is the white gesso. The clear gesso is almost dry, but I'm using my 2-inch silicone brush there and my fingers to smudge it on. And when you use the white gesso on a dark cardstock, of course, it's going to show up, very bright because it's white. And it's going to dry pretty quick, and you're going to be able to see all the smudge marks, all the brush strokes, anywhere that gesso touches it. You've got to be quick with it if you're going to use it on a dark background. But I'm going to wind up doing a lot of stuff to this background. So this is just a starting point, and yeah, I'm just going to go with it and see how it turns out. All right, so here's what I thought I would do with this stamp. I thought I would do some heat embossing and just kind of add some texture and interest to the background. So this little dabber thing that I'm using, I've had it for a long time. It's from Stempendous. It's basically the same thing as an embossing pad, like an ink pad, but the embossing ink. It's just in a little dabber there. It's the same thing. So I'm just dabbing it onto this stamp, stamping it down. I'm just trying to add some texture and interest here, and you can't even see it because it's just clear ink or clear liquid there. And then I'm going to pull some, I thought this was white, turns out that it's clear, but that was my mistake. And I'm going to cover all of that I just stamped down with some embossing powder. And like I said, I intended this to be white, but it turns out that it's clear, but it still looks really cool in the end. So we'll see what happens. Still hard to see it. I'm going to pull out my heat gun here and start to melt this into some texture. It's hard to see here, but when the heat hits the embossing powder and the embossing ink, it kind of melts it and dries it, and it's really, really cool. And embossing powder, if you've never played with it, is really neat. It comes in all kinds of colors, and you can kind of see it melting there when the heat hits it, and it's going to look really shiny and cool. So now you can kind of see it. So what I'm going to do is go over it with some of these Lindy's powders, and my first intention was to make a blue background. And now that the embossing powder is dry and I've got all that gesso on there, it's going to resist all of this color. So you can instantly see how it's resisting the color, and you're going to be able to see all those little cube shapes sort of pop up in between all this color. So I'm starting with the blue color that we got, and that's called Whale Watch Blue. It's pretty much what I would call a denim color. And then I'm going to add in some of the pinkish color. It's called Ramblin' Rose Pink. And I thought, you know what? Let's make purple. I don't even know what sparked this, but I just mixed these two colors together and it made this really pretty purple. And as it was mixing and running and blending, I thought, okay, I like the way this looks. So I'm going to continue to work with these two colors. You can see the big difference in the colors there, but when you mix red and blue together, it's going to make purple. And whenever these colors dry on top of the gesso, they're going to dry a lot lighter. They definitely change color and dry lighter when you use them on gesso, or at least for me they do. I don't know other brands of gesso, but whenever I use the Liquitex white gesso, the Lindy's powders tend to dry very, very light. So I have to add lots of layers of those colors. But that's okay because I want to see where this goes. This is definitely not my usual color scheme, but I really like how this is looking. Here you can kind of see the shimmer from the powders, but also the texture from the stamp and the embossing. So I'm going to come in now with some of the yellow. And I don't even know why I added the yellow. It's not a yellow, it's clam bake beige, but it looks kind of yellow when you first add it. But this kind of just fades away, and then I decided, meh, I don't really think I need yellow. At this point, I haven't even gone through anything else in the kits. I don't even know what I'm going to use. I was just in the mood to get messy and to make a background and see how it turned out, and then I would just worry about everything else later. You know, sometimes I start with an embellishment in mind. In this particular instance, I just went for it and said, you know what, let's mess up this cardstock and see if it can turn into something. So that's the phase of this process that we're still in here. So you can kind of see that I've already basically gotten rid of that clam bake beige at the top. And I just decided that we're going to go with this purple color. And in the end, when it's dry, it's so pretty. It's really shimmery. And I think it turned out to be the perfect purple color to kind of enhance all of the things from the kits that I do wind up using. And I really like how this is looking. It's still kind of wet, but I want to lighten it up a little bit. So I'm going to come in with my trusty white acrylic paint that I add a little bit of water to. I'm going to use my brush to start splattering down. And some of the splatters, when they hit something that's already wet, they're going to sort of spread out. So I'm going to kind of use my brush in those areas to kind of help blend that in and just to kind of help add a little bit of lighter color to this. And also, I just love how white splatters look on dark cardstock. It just shows up so well. And I love using the white acrylic paint for that. It's perfect because it dries exactly like you see it. Then I thought since there were some gold things in the kits, I would add in a little bit of gold. And this is what we got in last year's Christmas kits. It's the Jen Hadfield Gold Glitter Spray. It's basically the same thing as Heidi Swapp Color Shine. And I love this stuff. It's so gorgeous. And I feel like the gold is a really pretty addition to this because if you remember in the kits, we get a set of gold thicker words and shapes, and then another set of gold scripty thicker alphas, and I knew that I wanted to use some of those for a title later, so that's why I thought the gold would be pretty. Okay, I love this background. I love this. This turned out to be so much better than I was anticipating. In the beginning, I wasn't even thinking of purple, but when I blended those colors together, it just happened, and then I went through all the kits. And then I found this picture of my daughter that I hadn't used yet. I thought, okay, this is gonna come together really, really pretty because there are actually quite a bit of purple things in the papers and in the embellishments. So I thought, okay, let's go with the purple. So I'm gonna cut out a couple of these frames from this Pinkfresh Studio paper. And then there are, let's see, I've got a tag over there. I've got a Pocket Life card that I might use. Actually 2 Pocket Life cards. There are several flower clusters and some stickers. I've got everything just kind of clustered there. I'm going to pull a couple of chipboard pieces that I may or may not use. I thought I might incorporate a little bit of pink, so I pulled a couple things. I actually don't wind up using either of those chipboard pieces, but there's the gold that I was talking about. I cut out that white doily piece from one of the 4x6 Pocket Life cards, and I want to incorporate that. So I'm going to start to work on the photo and the layers behind it. I'm going to use some white tissue paper. This paper is more on the pink side, but I'm going to just use it as a slight layer behind the photo. And then I'm also going to use the leftover from that Pocket Life card that I cut the doily out of right there. Never throw away your scraps, especially if you're working with a kit like this, because scraps make excellent layers just like this. You would never know that I cut that out of there once I stuck it behind the photo there. So I've got a little bit of pink, a little bit of that light purple, and the photo is pretty much done. Now I got to figure out where everything else is going to go. And I know that I want my photo in the top part of the layout because my daughter is looking down, and I want it to appear that she is looking down the layout at all of the things that are going to be below the photo there. And sometimes, well, a lot of times actually, my photo helps determine my layout design because it all depends on the photo and where the person is looking. I know I say this a lot, and you know, this is just something that I help for me in my design process is I pay attention to the photos. Is the person looking up? Is the person looking down, left, right? And I kind of place that somewhere on the layout to where it looks like the person is looking across the page or down the page. It just kind of helps with direction. It helps your eyes follow to look at what the person in the photo is looking at, even though they're not looking at anything. But that's just kind of how my thought process works, and it helps me to design everything. So at this point, I know the photo is going to go up top there, and I want to create clusters of things around the layout. I want to tuck things under it and kind of bring things down. But at the same time, I don't want to cover up a lot of that big purple chunk of the background because I love how that looks, and I think it's so pretty, and it's going to enhance all of the other things. And there's several shades of purple we got going on here. And so I guess in a sense you could call this a monochromatic layout. Even though the background is gray, I do wind up using a lot of purple. And I think it turns out really pretty. I wasn't even thinking about doing a monochromatic layout. So funny how when you get going, you know, one thing happens and then that totally changes the direction of your layout. You know, I was going to start with the blue, but once the purple happened, this layout was born. And so I just go with it. I do have a couple shades of purple thread, and I tried to mix a couple of dark shades here, but it blended in too much. So I'm going to wind up moving that thread that I just tucked in there and replace it with a lighter color. And I'm going to layer that floral cluster on the far left side of the photo. I'm going to start to glue things together here. Just some layers of things behind the photo and around the side of the photo. I did add some adhesive foam behind the photo earlier to give it some dimension and depth. Yeah, I'm going to move that over here to the left of the photo because I feel like that section doesn't have a lot of the purple on the background, so that kind of helps to bring that darker color over to that section. And then I'm going to replace that with a lighter, it's kind of a light pink, but when it's blended here with everything, it looks like that light purple color. And some of these floral clusters, actually all of the flowers, are from the Days of Splendor collection from Pinkfresh Studio. I'm using a lot of things from that collection here. What I thought I would do was to use up some more of these purple pieces. Instead of continuing to cluster it underneath the photo, I would create a separate little cluster and put it down here at the bottom, almost running it off the page, because I want to leave that purple mixed media section open and give the top cluster some space to breathe. So I'm going to kind of leave it like it is and then create this little cluster down here at the bottom. And these are all different shades of purple. They're labels, little stickers, die cuts. And I want to angle it like I have the photo cluster at the top. So everything on this layout is going to be tilted to the left because I didn't want to have the photo area off-center to the left and then the cluster perfectly straight up and down. So I'm going to try to make sure that it's all kind of tilted. Going to use that little leaf, that little cozy thing. The cozy thing. How about die cut? It's a die cut. No, it's a sticker. Do I even know what I'm talking about? Probably not, but we're just going to keep rolling. Yeah. So now I've realized nothing is glued down. So we need to start doing that. So that's what I'm going to work on here. Yep, now I've got that all glued together. I can glue it down to the background. Yep, I love how this is looking. I was so happy. Once I got this background done, I was so excited that I just decided to go for it and start making a mess because it just worked out. And I never thought I would like a dark purple background on top of dark gray cardstock. And it would actually be something that I liked because, I'm all about summer. But, everything's fall now. The kits are full of fall things, the collections and the challenges and things are all, it's October. So it's fall, and I like to challenge myself to create different things. And I do have photos that aren't necessarily summer photos. And, this little photo shoot that I've had with my daughter, this actually was taken in March, but that's okay. This was right as the lockdown was just starting. And I had a little photo shoot with her. And I've scrapped a couple other photos from this photo shoot, but not this particular one. But it has fall vibes to it, I think, and it works with all of these pretty purple things. I thought about using that butterfly up at the top, but I wind up not using it. It just, I don't know, it looks okay here now that I'm looking at it, but in person as I was making it, I went back and forth and decided not to use it. I do tuck in some more of these gold thickers. I think I've used these on every layout I've made with these kits. They are perfect. They're so soft and squishy and puffy. They're the perfect metallic gold. They're shiny, but they're not too shiny. They're hearts, they're words, they're leaves. I mean, what else do you need, really? Oh yeah, there are bows. Haven't used any of the bows yet. But yeah, I love those. So this is what I've got so far. I think this is turning out really, really pretty. Look at the shimmer. Those magical powders are very shimmery, very, very pretty. Here are the scripty alphas. I have not used these yet. I'm just going to go very short and sweet and simple with my title. It's going to be My Sweet Girl. And I initially stick these letters down straight. And then once I looked at it, I thought, if everything else is tilted to the left, then I need to have the title tilted to the left. So I went back and tilted it so everything is kind of on that crooked angle there. Have a couple more things I'm going to add in. Another little purple die cut flower, and then from that tag that I used earlier, I'm basically hacking it up. I don't even wind up using it. I was trying to stick something else underneath the photo there, but I just felt like, no, this isn't it. It's too busy. I didn't like it. So I'm going to save it. If I want to reattach it and use it again later, I can, but I thought about just using the bottom half of it, but it didn't work. I thought about using a leaf. That didn't work. Thought about using a pocket life card. That didn't work. So I just left it alone, added in a little bit more of the gold because, the gold is just addicting. It's so pretty. And I wanted to scatter little gold things around the page. I finally decided to put this there. It's from that Jen Hadfield sticker sheet, and it's a little border of scalloped gold on white, and then a couple of these gold and white leaf stems in a couple spots also. And I like how the gold just sort of works because, I was thinking when I was using the gray, I thought silver would be a better option. But then once I added the gold splatters on the background, I thought, okay, I got to go with the gold. And I think it just works. I love it. This is from one of the crepe paper, the cut apart sheet. I cut out the little part that says sunshine there. I'm going to use that up at the top. And I'm almost done. I'm not going to do a lot of journaling here. I'm just going to write on that little label. I'm just going to write her name and the date. And then, yeah, I did glue down the title to make sure it stuck to the gesso, but that's the final layout. I really do like how this turned out. It was fun to do. It was fun to get messy on that background. And I have a lot of close-ups here where I know it's kind of hard on camera to see the embossing, but you'll be able to see it here in these close-ups. And like I said, I was intending for that to be white, but I kind of like how it's subtle. You can see the texture, you can feel it, but it's not something that stands out so much that you know, that's the first thing that you see. It's just kind of a fun detail. But yeah, it was fun to create this background and go with a lot of purple. Who'd have thunk it? That was not my original intention, but that's where we went. And I'm glad it turned out this way because it was fun to make. And I hope it at least gave you some ideas to try, or sparked an idea for another layout for you to give a go. So let me know if you have any questions. I hope you guys have a great week, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.